Okay, Jumbo, fellow adventurers, Mike Dooley, happy Thursday. Time for a tune up. This week's theme is for writers, writing for fun and profit. Today's topic is writing techniques. Thanks for your great questions below on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for the interaction, the sharing, the stars, the hearts, the waving. It makes such a difference. Tell me where you're from, what you're up to, and ask a question about writing. Tomorrow will be the final day on this theme, and then give me some ideas for themes next week and the weeks beyond. Okay, so I'm going to answer 3 questions that were specifically posed by you on technique, and then I'm going to share my writing technique for the notes, for my books, for preparation and speeches, and all else that I do. First question that you asked, Mike, how do we allow the ideas to bubble up into book form? Okay, whether you're a writer of fiction or nonfiction, my advice here would be the same. Start writing. Now, based on that question, I don't know if you had enough wherewithal to be able to do my earlier assignment, and that is come up with the title that your book is to live up to. And then from the title, the chapters, the subtitles, the parts of each chapter, that's going to get you started, and that's going to draw ideas forward. If you don't have the title, but you have a general idea, or it sounds like you're writing some fiction, start writing in all manifestations, whether the written word, the spoken word, $1 million, your travel partner. Taking action breeds clarity. Just freaking start. Okay, I will tell you, I never have any idea of where a note from the universe is going to go or what it's going to say. I'll tell you my process in a minute, but basically once I do my little, go within drill, which I will explain, I just start writing. And it's usually terrible. Then I edit, I cut, I paste, I curse. Edit, cut, paste, curse. Write some more. Edit, cut, paste, curse. And then lo and behold, this could go with that, and that could go over here, and I could make this point, and wouldn't that be funny? Taking action breeds clarity. I think it's a rare writer who has the idea for the complete story before they sit down and start writing it. So that means without knowing what you're going to write, you have to sit down and start writing. And it will be really bad at first. And then it'll get really good. You just got to do it. Mike, poetry or poetic prose? How does one organize this? Well, apart from common sense, and I do have a book of poems. That was my very first self-published book. They were poems that went on a t-shirt. My brother did the design. I did the poem. They sold in souvenir markets. They were pretty good, I have to tell you. We had quite a following. His art had a following, and my little poems had a following. And when I self-published, there was no need to organize, as you're suggesting. I just put them together, and a few that were similar, I put back to back so that people would be on the same thought. That's kind of logic, common sense. But here's what I've done for all of the books and audio programs, everything that I have ever self-published. And I've self-published way more than I've been published. I have about 17 total books. And then there's audio courses, video courses, DVDs, and on and on and on. So anyway, I do have some experience. What I do is I go to Barnes & Noble, and or I go to Amazon, or it doesn't matter where you go, and I actually touch and feel and go through the pages of books that are in the genre of what I want to write, and that are eye-catching. I look at the font. I measure the books. If it's Amazon, I just order the books. Go order some of the best-selling books in the genre that you want to write for. I do a word count. Count one page, an average page, not a page where a chapter starts or something, an average full page, and then thumb through the book and you see how many pages there are, 216 pages, 142 words per page. Now you know the word count for that book. So look at everything as a benchmark, as a possibility. Don't worry, you don't have to do what somebody else has done, but you're going to get an idea of how they put together prose and how they put together poetry and what the introduction was like and the conclusion was like and the chapter organization, the margins, the font, whether it was a hardback, trade paperback. Look at all of that stuff. It's a small investment. And if you go to Barnes & Noble, you don't even have to buy the book. You can just look at them in the cafe and eat a donut and leave. So definitely, if you're going to self-publish, don't ever even think of just doing it blindly, nor just trusting the organization you're going with. Make sure they know what they're doing. Make sure you see samples. Make sure you touch them in your hand. And then you're going to have an idea of how to organize your material and, even more importantly, how to present it aesthetically. Kids' books. Please speak to kids' books. Okay, I have 2 kids' books. I did not follow the advice I'm about to give you. But they've both done okay because I have a large enough platform and they're pretty cute. I would say that the one thing missing from most kids' books is the realization that the author is talking to a kid. And they use words that I barely know the meaning of. And it's so infuriating and frustrating. It's like, what is wrong with you, author? Get a grip. Nobody uses that word anymore. You use it. You think everybody knows it? Just a little common sense. Speak the language of the age range that your book is intended for. You're not sure what age range? Go to Barnes & Noble and see what 5-year-olds are reading. See what 10-year-olds are reading. See what you have and match it up to what the market's bearing. Very, very easy. My kids' books basically were notes from the universe that I cobbled together to make a point. And I changed some of the words, some I didn't. And then the other kid's book was one really long note from the universe that was like, oh, that's just perfect for a kid. But again, I used some big words that I regret using. Another bit of advice for kids, depending on the age range, but regardless, don't underestimate their intelligence. Okay? They are pretty darn smart, and they can figure out a few things and connect a few dots. Speak to them respectfully. They're miniature adults. Okay? The kids' book market, like the poetry market, you know, if you were only cared about making a buck, and I hope that's not the case, then these statistically are terrible markets to get into. But if you're writing because you want to create and there's a joy there, you may be one of the poets or one of the kid authors who sells a gazillion books more than Mike Dooley will ever sell or has ever sold so far. So follow your heart and do it your way. Speak to the market you want to speak to. I think I mentioned the other day Rupi Kaur, the young poet from New York City. She wrote her first book at 21, and it has sold millions and millions and millions. And it's poetry. It's fantastic. So yeah, it can be done. And of course, you know, Dr. Seuss and many other legendary kids' books need to be complemented with your kids' book. So there's room there. You can make $1 million down any path, and you're more likely to make it going down a path that resonates with your heart, doing what you want to do, expressing, exploring, discovering. All right, here's the fourth question that ties into my writing technique that I wanted to share with you. Mike, how to write your story without knowing the ending? Well, I kind of spoke to the first question about I never know where my story is going to go. The content comes to me when I start writing a note from the universe. But I do have a trick, and this is what I wanted to wrap up today's tune-up sharing. And that trick is very, very simple. Thoughts become things in all manifestations, including your written words. And so prior to a writing session, no matter what I'm about to write, usually a note from the universe, I will visualize for usually 1 or 2 minutes to a timer so I don't overdo it or underdo it. And during those 1 or 2 minutes, I visualize what I'm after. Do you know what that is? I'm after the same thing you're after. That woohoo feeling that I know arises when I have written well. And if you've never written before, well, let me tell you, when you write something really well and you're proud of it, you're just like, yes, I got it. I love this job. So for 1 or 2 minutes, I just visualize feeling that emotion. You know, a happy dance, pump my fist. I love it. I love it. I get to write these notes with the feeling that I just wrote the best one of my life. Can't wait to send this one out and to see the feedback. Just 2 minutes of that. That's the end result. That end result cannot be made manifest unless I write the best note I've ever written. By working backwards from the end result, we ordain and infuse ourselves with the ideas, the logistics, the epiphanies, whatever's necessary to write well that will elicit that authentic manifestation of yes. So it's a 2-minute exercise followed up with writing, even though I don't know what I'm going to write about. I do not visualize today I will write about gratitude. It would be so bad. I do not visualize I'm going to write a book today about whatever. I turn that over to the universe. It's the end result that I'm after, and the universe is like, I know how to get you there, and I know what's going to make people's hearts sing. So just put pen to paper, start typing on your keyboard, Mike Dooley, and then I'm creating the space to receive the circumstances and content, inspiration, twist of plots, happy endings, shock endings that will yield the authentic woohoo. So not only do I get content, but this is where I get a clever twist, an unexpected turn of plot, just sheer raw creativity. The end result draws it out of the ether when I envision it and I start writing to create that space. So just start writing. That's how the ideas bubble forward. That's how you come up with the kick-ass end result that's going to leave your readers speechless. Start writing, imagine the end result, cut, copy, curse, paste, write, cut, copy. You are on your way. Okay, thanks. Tomorrow's Friday. Can't wait. We're going to talk a little bit more. I've saved some questions, so I already have some great content. We're going to talk tomorrow about some miscellaneous writing concepts, getting endorsements. Do you need an agent, passive or aggressive? Tune in tomorrow, fellow writers. And of course, what I'm sharing does apply to virtually all manifestations. Thoughts become things. Choose the good ones. Thanks for being here, Chris, Winnie, Judy, Betsy, Carrie, and on Instagram, Jeb, Tara, Pujari. Hope I got your name right. Felicia. Hasta luego.